Hello YouTube users, today we're doing a review on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Sega Genesis. Now I know this has been adapted to many systems. We're not going to include the Game Gear one because the levels are different, but you know, it's been on computer, it's been on Xbox 360, which is now on Xbox One, all the PlayStations. It's been readapted to the flashback system, and today I'm going to actually be showing you not only images but recordings of it on the flashback, which is the main system I'm going to use today because, hey, you know, it's a newer form to get it feeling all retro. But anyways, so looking at Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it definitely brought some new things into account that we'll be looking at. Like, you know, Tails is there for the 2-player. You could give it to your younger sibling, or if you had younger children at the time, like I was a kid, you could hand the second controller, and they had the ability to play as Tails, and you actually can help Sonic kill bosses. I've killed bosses several times as Tails, which is a nice thing to include from 1, even though I like a lot of the stages better in 1. But another thing to look at when we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the multi-layered level. I love it so much. It's something that a lot of the newer Sonics, well, I don't really touch the newer Sonics. Once we go past Dreamcast, they don't exist. But anyways, you know, the 3-layered one, you know, speed was the top layer, then you had like the in-between layer, which was like speed with platforming, and then bottom was just platforming. So if you really sucked at speed, or you were just generally bad, then you had to take the slow platforming, which if you mainly played Nintendo games, it wasn't so bad at the time. I know I usually ended up back in the day the bottom platforming level, which was a real bother if you did zones later in the game, like the Aqua Ruins. The top was so much easier. The bottom, oh my god, those water bubbles, the tension. Now looking at the palette, the color palette, it's incredibly 90s, this game. I mean, you know, look at some of the later levels, or oh, I hate when you get near the end of the game, like the last 2 levels, not Oil Ocean, even though the color palette's very 90s, but more the Metropolis zone. I mean, ugh, the colors. Is it Christmas or what? But the game overall is very good, and it's quite an enjoyable game. I mean, it was definitely something as a kid I played, being a kid of the 90s, and all my friends have played. And it's definitely a good game. I mean, we all know this, really. I mean, that's not really the question. The question really is, has it stood up to the passing of time? And yes, it has. I mean, you know, you can pick it up, and if you compare it to many pixel games of nowadays, excluding the fact that you can't save, but if you get the newer iterations of it, instead of playing it on a Sega Genesis or a Repro Sega Genesis, then you're going to have that option. That's really the only thing that ages this game. I mean, the color palette's there, but a lot of games are specifically made to have that aged color palette. You could pull up many games. I mean, we're moving back, it's like, you know, I guess it was, people say it's before the Renaissance of gaming, but I mean, they had it just so down packed, and it was so fresh, and it really, they knew who they were talking to, their clientele. I mean, it was for kids, and originally it was for kids, and adults pick up the system, but they knew what they were doing, you know, back then. So, my final verdict for this game, it's kind of hard because, you know, do I give it the original type rating, or should we do the stand up to time? Because if we're going to do the original rating, I would say, you know, this thing's like a 9.5 out of 10. But if we're going to look up to how it stood up to the passes of time, I would actually give it a 7.5. and that's mainly the saving and the color scheme. Just, it really is painful on the eyes, especially in the later levels. And I mean, when you're playing an older game, part of the reason the nostalgia might be, yes, you want to enjoy it, but when it feels like my eyes are bleeding and they're going to jump out of my sockets and run away from the color, it's not a good thing. But you know, the controls are perfect, even if you use shitty controllers from the repro. Don't use those controllers. Just don't buy new ones. Use old ones, whatever. Just don't use those wireless things. You know, like, spot on. There's hardly any glitches in the game, which is a big problem with new games. And you know, like, I think the worst glitch was on the first level, so you could just reset your game. It's like, oh no, I lost a minute. Huh, that's horrible. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.